Hey guys, what's up? This is part 2 of the hollow grind over other grind video. And I know I'm sticking my face in a hornet's nest here, for sure. Especially on YouTube, because there is a lot of people who love convex grinds. I happen to like hollow grind, especially for EDC uses. The very, very best selling point to me, besides that they cut really well, are properly done hollow grind, such as a properly done convex grind, cut, and they cut well. They're proven performers. Hollow grind sharpens up so easy because you're on this very edge. So it's basically like, I actually use a micro bevel. I use a convex micro bevel, so I can sharpen this up on a diamond strop very quickly. And if I get a huge ding in it, which I don't with Chris Reeve knives, I could sharpen this out very quickly. Whereas you have a full convex, this is not convex here, but you need the proper equipment to get a big chip out. I mean, maybe you could sandpaper and mouse pad for a long time. I don't know. There's a lot of different reasons, though, why I don't like convex grinds, like, at all. So the big argument, I watched Mind's Mirror channel. He's got a great channel, and he's very well educated. I mean, there's no argument about that. So what the big argument is, and not really even argument, discussion, and Gavco made a few comments on the video I just posted, and that's great. I think that's why YouTube is great, so we can all share thoughts and learn from each other and stuff, So this is a friendly, we're geeking out together here, just having a nice little friendly discussion. I don't think there's anything mean-spirited involved. But the discussion was pretty much, if you like Gavco, I could show you the comment, or you guys could read it. Let's see, I'm pulling it up on my telephone here. Okay. So Gavco's kind of making the assumption, just like a lot of people make the assumptions when they start talking about convex. They're talking about huge fat things, big fat, where they're not really lean. And I understand that. The leaner you can get it, the better. Right? So Mind's Mirror thing was kind of like, here's the fact. You take your flat grind with your edge on here, and then you convex the flat grind to make it into a zero edge. Well, my whole point is, once you convex that to the same angle and you knock down all the shoulders, at that point you could still even go leaner if you want to and do a zero flat grind. So a zero convex grind is not fair to compare up against something like this, right? And that's pretty much a Scandi grind, where it goes down to zeros, and there's no argument. Around the world, Scandi grind is proven itself. There's no argument there. That doesn't mean that convex doesn't work. I'm just saying there's no argument that Scandi grind works. It works. So let me draw a picture here. If you could go like this and like this. Right? Here's your convex zero. Well, you could take that one step and you could do this infinitely. From the same thickness here to the edge. And you could do zero flat grind. And guys, I fell asleep in geometry class and still made like 105. So this is all, I mean, I see this stuff. I'm not saying I'm no genius or anything, but what I see immediately is, no matter how much you convex, because if you convex this full flat grind here, zero grind, flat, right? If you convex this, you're thickening up that edge. There's no way you could convex a zero flat ground blade unless you want to take off some of the top here and you want to take off your sharp edge here. Now, there's a reason people don't use zero ground flat grinds, zero flats. So That reason is because they're just not strong. In fact, there's a lot of straight razors. They're called wedges. And they actually are 0 ground, flat, like that. What's the disadvantage? When you go to sharpen them, you have to sharpen this whole side away. What's the disadvantage of a convex edge? If you want to sharpen it properly, there's a lot of ways to cheat, but you have to take off all this on the side. So that's why I'm saying everyday use, hollow grind wins for me. There's not much area to sharpen here. You can do the same with a flat grind, but to me, hollow versus flat, personally, hollow outcuts the flat just on pure thinness alone, especially if you're slicing. And that's why Mine's Mirror had said there's a common misconception that the hollow grind is a better slicer. For me, it is. When you slice, if I was going to slice through these papers, right, it's only going to hit into this much through the paper, right? And I'm pulling. That's a slicing motion. That's a thinner edge. It's going to be like cutting it with a razor blade. It's going to slice better than any convex edge. I would put money on it. Just like it would cut better. Now, as humans, we may not be able to feel that difference. So literally and figuratively, we are splitting hairs at this point. Because like I'd said in the video before this, there's only so many ways to make this cut as worse as possible. Obviously, this would be pretty bad to smash it through whatever you're cutting. To make this smash even worse, you would want to put like, you know, some sort of thing on here to like catch whatever you're trying to cut. Then that would be really hard if you sharpen this away. But that's just stupid talk, right? But I'm saying this is a pretty bad edge. Flat grind, you're getting better because the blade's getting thinner. Right? And then you have your little edge on there. Now, a lot of people who are arguing about the lean convex say, why don't you take this and just round it off? And there's your lean convex. And I would argue that's a flat grind with a convex edge. That's a combination. If you could put a straight edge up against more than 50% of this, right? Wouldn't that be a flat grind? And maybe is that where some of this is getting lost in translation here? Because of course that's going to cut well. That's almost like you took this, made this bevel a little larger, knocked off the shoulders, but at heart, most of this would stay DLC coated, right? Because it would be primarily a flat grind with a convex edge. And I couldn't argue that. That would be a nice, strong using edge with enough meat behind it, yet still be very thin, and all the transitions would come up and be very smooth. So maybe that's where maybe I'm even misunderstanding that, because I'm not really poo-pooing on convex. Obviously, my favorite is a convex edge on my hollow grind. And just like convex edges can be misunderstood, and convex grinds, I should stop saying edges and grinds. Convex grinds, a lot of people think they're like an axe. I've already said that, right? They're not. They don't have to be. They can be, but they don't have to be. This is not what I'm talking about in this video. But when they come out so thin that you could literally put a straight edge on more than 50%, and you call them that lean, isn't that really just a convex edge on the flat grind? I mean, I would think so. More than 50%. So I think everybody knows what I'm saying. If I could touch this straight edge to this, and you can't see light all the way through this whole part except for right here, you knock down the shoulders, that's not really a convex grind, not in my opinion. Like I said, it's kind of semantics at that point, if that's even the proper word for that. So anyways, I'm saying the hollow grind works for me best. I really like how fast it sharpens. This is extremely thin. This is like straight razor right here. But you guys already know, and you probably already watched the other video. As you sharpen it away, it stays thin. They do slice better, especially if you're not penetrating through the whole width of the blade here. How can it not? How can any argument ever be made that a hollow grind does not slice as well as a convex edge? And keep in mind, this is friendly stuff. I'm not taking this to heart. I'm here to learn. I would not be making this video if I said I knew everything. Like I said, I mean, some folks say that convex is the best, and they won't ever hear it any other way. In this video, they're shaking their head the whole time, and that's fine. But I'm here to learn, so if anybody has something to say, show, a video response, I'd love to see it. You know, I don't know. I don't know where I could be wrong. How could a hollow grind not slice better than the leanest convex you could ever give me? Especially when you're not penetrating through. For me, it's very, very simple geometry. A thin blade cuts better than a thicker blade. With convex, I don't care if you convex a flat grind, you still have more meat behind the edge than you do with a hollow grind. I guess that would be depending on how deep your hollow grind is. So there's a lot of variables there too. I don't know. To hear folks say that they could, I'd love to see somebody do a full convex grind on the Sebenza here. And I could probably even supply a small Sebenza blade. I'm pretty sure I probably could. I'll get in touch with my guy, my pusher, and get a blade if somebody wants to try it, because I don't think it can happen. Not to get every single bit of this grind out and make this thinner without losing any width of the blade. Don't think it could happen. There'd still be that Chris Reeve stonewash on there. Now I will tell you from my experience as a very, very amateur knife maker, convex is very easy to do with simple tools. You can almost take sandpaper and mouse pad and make your own convex knife. I'm not saying that either one of these makers, Kylie or Gavco, don't have the proper equipment, but it's a lot easier to grind a convex knife than it is to grind a hollow grind knife. And I know mine's mirror had that sample of a knife that he did, but he was probably at a professional knife maker shop and possibly used a jig. I don't know. Wasn't there. I don't know. But with a jig and the right equipment, that right equipment costs several $1,000s to get a hollow grinding wheel on a 2x72 inch grinder. Believe me, I've been pricing them. So once you get that kind of equipment, yeah, hollow grind might be easier to do than a convex, because convex does take a lot of skill, you know, as far as the freehand or even with your platen against it. You know, so I really can't say about that, but I know I could go out in my shop today and attempt a convex edge, but I absolutely could not even attempt a hollow grind. And I just, to even on top of that, all these manufacturers, I don't see many more than Bark River shipping 0 convex edges. If they were the cat's meow, I think other folks who has spent millions of dollars on this would be onto it, and they're not. What are they doing? Hollow grinds, right? Chris Reeve, a lot of people. Chris Reeve knives cut great. They work great for everyday use. I'm not a fanboy, but I would say just from my experience of carrying and using them, has shown me that they do cut well. They are good tools, and I don't think anybody could argue that. Just like I'm not trying to argue that a knife from any maker with a 0 grind convex is bad. I just don't think it would perform as well if it was a 0 grind flat. May not be as strong, so maybe that's where the convex makes a whole lot more sense. Like I said, a 0 grind really gets thin. Now when you convex it, that's about as thin as you can go and still leave some meat behind there. But my argument is that the thinner the blade is due to the hollow grinding, and then you convex the very, very edge, it's just going to cut better. There's less material. Plus, I really like that there's no drag. Once it gets up and over this portion and starts splitting the material like this, there's that air pocket there, so there's 0 friction. Now the finish on the blade matters. That could be part 3. Didn't really want to do another video on this. I'm going to let it lay how it is. Different strokes for different folks. There's definitely an art form. Knife making is definitely an art form. If anybody tells you there's a definite best way to do something, I don't believe them. I don't believe them at all, because it depends on what you're doing, depends on It's an art form. It's been around thousands of years because it's an art form. And we all collect knives and we all geek out about this stuff. And we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't an art form, right? So I don't think if mathematics were that simple and the geometry was that simple, there's just too many variables. What are you cutting? Are you cutting wood? Are you cutting rubber? Are you cutting paper? Are you needing lateral force? Are you just slicing? Are you push cutting? There's so many different variables, you know, that you can't say there's a best. It's like, who's the best knife maker? What do you mean? For fixed? For folders? For my style that I like? For utilitarian? For art knives? It's, you know, so you guys know. You wouldn't be here if you didn't think it was art. I don't think. But anyways, that's what it is. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Again, if you're still here for another 15 minutes, I'm going to let this be. It'd be nice to see a video response if somebody could say why convex is better. You know, I know there's probably already videos on it, and I probably haven't watched every one, so I'm going to try to search some of those out. If anybody wants to post any links or send me some PMs or something, I'm sure I will find some time to run through any videos or any links. So that's it, guys. I'm not saying hollow grind is the best for you. I'm saying in my purposes, hollow grind wins every time over convex. And those are pretty strong words, but I feel very strongly about it. My Chris Reeve knives cut great. See you guys.